You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. welcoming you to a lap of the extra mile for today, August the 11th, 2022. And first, it's great to be back. Second, the F1 summer break has been anything but quiet. We now have one spot left in the NASCAR playoffs. And of course, Scott Dixon is on one of his famous late season charges. And I will be taking you through that over the next hour. No co-host this evening, which is weird to say. I think it has been a long time since I've done this show without Christopher or Michael or any of the combinations of the others that we have had on this program. But Chris has a family matter this evening. Not sure where Michael is this tonight, but it'll just be me. So make sure you get your comments in on the chat. I will call them out as I see them. And we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start, of course, with Formula One. And before all that, I just want to say it's great to be back. I want to thank Chris for hosting last week. I know I was out of town. I was on a work event, so could not be here with you all. But I am glad to finally be back and getting the show started once again. So, we'll start with Formula One, and if they didn't talk about it last week, we're going to talk about it this week. The whole Oscar Piastri situation has just gotten completely out of control. To get everybody caught up, Alpine announced a couple of weeks ago that Oscar Piastri would be taking over for Fernando Alonso in the Alpine F1 car next year. They announced that. That was last week. Oscar then came out and said, actually, no, I'm not. You didn't get a signed contract with me. I am not racing for you. It then came out that Piastri has a contract in hand signed to race with McLaren. That leaves Alpine without a driver because Fernando Alonso has signed with Aston Martin to take over for the retiring Sebastian Vettel. Alonso got a multi-year deal over there. Alpine was only willing to give a one-year deal because they wanted to hold on to Piastri just a little bit longer before putting him in the F1 car. And Piastri pretty much said, yeah, I'm not going to wait, and found his own seat with McLaren. That has caused a lot of rigmarole with the Alpine team first going to, and I didn't even know this existed, the Contract Relations Board for the FIA, which goes over Formula One contracts and signs off whether or not they are valid. They signed off on both the contracts of Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri. That has now led to Alpine announcing they're going to sue Oscar Piastri, or intend at some point to sue Oscar Piastri for the money they put in for his career. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know who is advising Alpine, but this is just getting sad. This is basically the ex-boyfriend asking for the ring money back because she didn't say yes to the proposal. I get it. Y'all put a lot of money into making sure that Oscar Piastri could get to Formula One. It is not cheap to get a driver through those regional Formula Series into Formula 3 and Formula 2 to get him into Formula 1. But y'all had to show the same commitment that Piastri was showing you. And Piastri has not run a single FP1 session this year. Other drivers that are standing in the back of garages have run FP1 sessions. I know Lewis Hamilton gave up a free practice one session in France to allow their reserve driver a chance to drive, for example. The rumor was they were going to stick him in Williams for 2023 and then bring him to the big club in 2024. That's all well and good. But you have to communicate with your star driver what the plan is. And if the plan is, look, we're going to put you in our new customer team, Williams, next year, if Williams signs his deal for Renault engines, of course. You're going to run there in 2023, and then once Alonso leaves, we're going to put you in on 2024. If you explain that and activated the clause in his contract to keep him the extra year before July 31st, you wouldn't be sitting in this situation. Instead, Alpine sat there, let the contract lapse. Meanwhile, Mark Webber, who is advising Oscar Piastri and Piastri himself, put together this deal with McLaren to get the man a drive in Formula One next season. I cannot fault Oscar Piastri for what he did. If the team you are working for isn't showing you the commitment, isn't showing you that they want you around, despite all the loyalty you have shown, and you don't have a contract by the date you're supposed to have a contract for next season, it is all well and good for you to go out and get a contract with a team that wants you. Because Alpine was messing around thinking they had a sure thing in Oscar, who said, oh no, I'm not going to sit here and wait. I want to go to Formula One now. So I'm going to Formula One now. Bye-bye. And good luck with your driver's search. He's well within his rights to do what he did. What Alpine is not within their rights to do is throw a hissy fit in the media, calling him out for his loyalty when he didn't show any, and then talking about there's a 90% chance it's going to end up in a lawsuit for the money you expended into furthering Piastri's career. If I'm a young driver, I'm watching this kerfuffle and saying, I'm not driving for that team. I want nothing to do with the Renault Junior Academy or the Alpine Junior Academy, whatever they're calling it. Because they're not going to put the actual effort and make sure I get a Formula One spot. They're not going to make sure that I'm taken care of. And when I go to another team, because they're not watching over me, they're going to call me out in the media, call me everything but a child of God, and try to sue me for the money I didn't ask them to spend. So why would I deal with that team? So Oscar Piastri looks like he's going to be racing for McLaren next year. And it's funny that we have two open wheel series, and McLaren has contract issues in both of them. We know the situation that's going on in IndyCar right now with Chip Ganassi suing his current driver, Alex Palou. That case might be going to a federal court, by the way. And oh, by the way, Palou is in the middle of trying to defend his championship, which those hopes are fading fast, as he is now fifth in the championship with 417 points. Palou is supposed to be going to Arrow McLaren Schmidt Peterson. We'll see how that goes, depending on who wins the battle in the courtroom at this point, or if they can come to a settlement. And in Formula One, their new driver is also caught up in contract mess because his current team is trying to hold on to him when they didn't do what they were supposed to do. It's a shame that we're here. And it's funny, and I will say this to any new fans that are listening. Formula One is never a dull day in anything. You know, we thought this was just going to be a cool, calm, do-nothing off-seat, or do-nothing summer break as we get ready for Sebastian Vettel to run Max Verstappen to run roughshod over the second half of this season and claim the championship. And that was before we heard, basically on the first day of the summer break, that Alonso was leaving Alpine to go to Aston Martin. So the plan was mess around and leave Alpine, I guess. Strange plan, to be honest, if you're asking me. And that has started a contract dilemma that we have not seen in Formula One in quite some time. And I am not a lawyer, so I'm not going to go over the legality of the contracts or whatever is going on. All I'm going to say is there's some folks that are going to get plenty rich over this, and it's unfortunately not going to be anyone sitting here. But Formula One will get back going in Spa, and so I was on the TikTok this week. I don't know why I said like an old man on the TikTok, but I did. WTF1, who does a lot of great work on there, had a question. They're reading out their fan questions. They got a question from a fan, or got a comment from a fan, that basically said Pierre Gasly was massively overrated, would never win a race again, and would never rejoin the Red Bull top team. Now, the commentators on there agreed with he wasn't going to the top team, disagreed on the massively overrated. I also completely disagree with that massively overrated comment. We have to understand, Formula One is about the car as much as it is about the driver. And that Alpine has not been very good this year. Or not Alpine, sorry. That AlphaTauri Formula One car, not been very good this year, and it is shown in the results. We know Gasly is a much better driver than what the car is showing, but you can't really, there's only so much you can do if the car you're driving isn't up to snuff. Okay, we hear to this comment all the time that, oh, well, Lewis Hamilton wouldn't win races if he was in a Williams. No one's winning races in a Williams. The drivers in the Williams aren't winning races in the Williams. What makes you think Lewis Hamilton would do it? If the car's not going to perform, the drivers aren't going to be able to perform in it. So just as much as the driver has to be good, the car also has to run good. And if the car doesn't run, it doesn't even matter who that driver is. They're not going to be able to compete. As we have Michael Ward actually joining us now, so we'll get him in here. But Gasly currently in the standings, and I'll get that for you in just a moment. Not where you would want him to be for the AlphaTauri or for the Red Bull B team. You would want them to be right up there with Red Bull, but it hasn't happened this year because they have not gotten the car under them where they need it. Gasly currently sitting 13th on 16 points. AlphaTauri currently sitting 8th in the standings at 27 points, which is not where we thought we would see them at all. As I welcome in Michael Ward for the first time this evening. Michael, a lot of conversations about AlphaTauri's number one driver, Pierre Gasly. Some folks are calling him massively overrated. I think that's a hot take. What do you think?
I would have to agree. That's a pretty big hot take, considering he won the Italian Grand Prix, I think, 2 years ago, and managing to hold off Carlos Sainz, a current Ferrari driver. So I think he's, if anything, I think he's underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has a lot of potential. It's just that he doesn't get to let it shine, and he's in AlphaTauri, which is a great team. Don't get me wrong. But when he was in Red Bull, the focus was Verstappen, and he didn't get much of a say in car setups or the other. So he had to get demoted back to AlphaTauri. So I think he's just managing with what he has, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think he shouldn't have signed that AlphaTauri extension. I think he should have looked elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think he's overrated. Not overrated. I think he's underrated, not overrated.
Yeah, at the time though, there wasn't really any rides open, and we didn't know what was going to come open, because I don't think we were expecting what happened with Fernando Alonso going to Alpine, which I think would be an upgrade for Pierre if he was still open for the contract. And we didn't expect Oscar Piastri to not be there, which I just got done talking about that. That is a whole rigmarole. Now that I have you, what are your thoughts about this whole situation where Alpine is basically threatening to sue Oscar Piastri for the money that they paid into his career because he doesn't want to race with them?
It's like another Alex Palou situation, and it's just contracts in Formula One is it's a mess, and so there's a lot of if and statements, a lot of this, that, and the other, and it gets really crazy. I think what's going on with Piastri is that he was in the mindset of he's gonna be an Alpine driver, and then McLaren was just like, hey, let's allow you to drive for us because we don't want Ricciardo anymore. And Piastri signed a deal saying, hey, if Alonso leaves, you get to make the step up, or if a driver leaves, he gets to make the step up. And then look what happened. Alonso decided to leave Alpine, and I'm guessing, can you really say Alpine was in the wrong if that might be in the contract? Because
the problem is, and I was explaining it earlier, they had to execute the clause by July 31st. They let it lapse because they thought Alonso was going to be there. Then on August 1st, Alonso announces he's leaving to go to Aston Martin. So then they tried to pull Piastri's going to drive for us, but they were past their limit. I mean, they were past the deadline. So there's nothing they can do about it at that point. He's not under contract for next year, and the Contract Relations Board, which doesn't even know it was a thing, said it's a clean contract to McLaren. So Alpine got caught napping, thought they had 3 drivers. Now they have Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, now they don't have 1 driver. We're about to see Alpine show up with 1 car next year.
Yep.
Which is crazy to think about.
Unless they're going to bring Daniel Ricciardo back.
Honestly, I think that's the only viable option.
Yeah.
If you want a serious contender and a guy you can just back, even though I don't even know they're just going to back Ricciardo, given how he was performing at McLaren, they might just stay and back Ocon. But if you want a competent driver who can at least score points, Ricciardo,
Yeah. I don't know if Ricciardo's going to want to go back there because, if I remember correctly, that relationship did not end on the best terms. However, there's not that many seats left unless he wants to come to IndyCar or NASCAR. I mean, we'll take him.
Which, let's not lie, I think he wouldn't mind that.
I still want to see Lewis Hamilton come try NASCAR, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Might. Never say never.
Yeah.
We didn't think Ferrari could botch the strategy any more than they can this year, but
good lord! And I missed that last week.
The season has been. Yeah, I pulled a Darryl and got on a soapbox last episode.
Well, you needed to
go back last episode. You and see me actually get angry. You can.
Yeah, and while we're sitting here, Mattia Binotto said nothing needed to change. What do you feel about that?
Man's in denial. he's in denial, and a lot of people are calling, especially the Tifosi want blood, and I think it's unfortunate that. Well, not unfortunate. He's kind of. You know what I found out? What I think was the problem, Daryl?
What?
It's Iñaki Rueda. I think that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Making the strategy calls and Binotto not, going against them or not being stern enough with his team that eventually led to the bad strategy calls.
Well, they're going to need to figure something out because what they're doing right now is not working.
And I think what's going to happen is the whole pit wall is going to be changed, including Bernardo.
If they don't win
I don't think it would be wise to get rid of Bernardo, and you might think that's crazy. But Bernardo is ahead of their engineering department, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, it's just like, well, reliability aside, the F-175 is a really fast car.
Yeah, but if they can't get this strategy thing, here's what I'll put, and then we'll go to break. If they blow the strategy at the Italian Grand Prix coming up here once we get back going in the second half, I don't think anybody in that team is going to have a job on that Monday, except for the drivers.
That's if they lose it on the summer break, man.
Yep. We'll see.
Bernardo doesn't have the final say. The company has the final say.
Well, that's what I mean. Ferrari's going to clean house, including Binotto.
Yeah, we'll see during the summer break. I'm actually kind of hoping for it. I hate to see people lose their jobs like this, but something needs to change.
Yep.
Like, this car is fast. It's championship contending fast. But no one in history is going to believe that when they see an 80-point points gap to Max Verstappen.
Yeah, they've absolutely thrown this championship
They have
in the garbage.
I think this could potentially go down as the biggest ball drop in motorsports history, if it hasn't already.
Got to be the biggest choke job, and if not, it's up there.
This has got to be the biggest choke in motorsports history.
Yep. Well, we'll be right back, and when we come back, we're going to get into the NASCAR race at Michigan, and Bubba Wallace came up short, but in no way is he a failure. We'll explain that in a little bit more on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
I feel a Twitter rant coming.
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' the NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' in NorCal sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' in NorCal sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dentarius Law.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Daryl and Michael here with you this evening. We're going to get into the Firekeepers Casino 400 that we saw on Sunday from Michigan. And Michael, I think ever since we went to California earlier this year, I said I was excited to get this race going with the new package that we have with the next-gen car. And it put on another great race, which is what has characterized the 1.5 / 2 mile portion of the season. We've just seen a lot of good races.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of good races, and this one was pretty much the same. Really good racing.
Mm-hmm. It was good to see, and I don't know how much of the race you did get to see, but that ending run, Bubba Wallace started second there, got pushed back to fifth, and got pushed back to third, battled his way back to second, and was trying his best to chase down Kevin Harvick. I think as a Bubba Wallace fan, and I think we all know I wear my fandom for Bubba on my sleeve, watching that race and watch this entire weekend, I think a couple of weeks ago I said it was the most complete weekend of the season. I think this was the most complete weekend of his career. They started fast. They were third in practice, qualified on the pole, finished second. This was a perfect weekend for 23XI's number 23.
Oh, yeah, this was absolutely I think this was the best. This is definitely the best weekend they've had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Like you were saying, like, this was the most complete race. Everything they did was right, and they have a nice second place finish to show for it.
Excuse me. And during that race and afterwards, we saw the emotion on Bubba's face. He wanted that win to lock himself into the playoffs. And if you heard the radio transmissions during that race, he was extremely hard on himself. And we saw it in the post-race interview. He was extremely hard. And I would say that at some point, Bubba called himself a failure. I don't think he is not a failure. As we were saying over the break, this is the best month stretch that team has ever had.
Yeah, I would.
They've had 4 straight top 10s now, and they'd probably be even better if it wasn't for the 14th a few weeks ago. This team, since Atlanta Motor Speedway, where they had the issues, went to New Hampshire, were 3rd. Strategy got away from them at Pocono, but they were 8th. Was 5th at the Indianapolis Road Course and 2nd at Michigan. That's the best 5-week streak I think that team has had since this season started. Everything is finally starting to click. They got the pit road situations taken care of. Everything is rolling. They're getting the adjustments finally that they need to make the car work. Although they got to be a little bit quicker on that. They're in a good position to sneak themselves into the playoffs, which really, you just want to make the playoffs here and then see what happens.
Yeah.
And as Parsons says here on the chat, he did call himself a failure in stating he let his team down. He was extremely hard on himself. I want him to win if anyone else was in the lead but Kevin. And we know Parsons is our resident Kevin Harvick fan, so he was happy this week. I am happy that Harvick won, but Bubba, he is not a failure. And in fact, he is just starting to reach his potential on what we thought he could be.
I would agree with you on that one. I think a lot of the criticism that comes at Bubba comes from him not really reaching his potential. And like I was saying to Chris, was that certain drivers take a while to reach their potential. And we've seen that in Hendrick, where for a while it took them to reach their full potential. Joe Gibbs, they won't let them reach their potential. Joey Logano, it took him a minute to reach his potential. Brad Keselowski, all these champions, it took them a while to reach their potential. And I think that's the same way with Bubba. I think people were criticizing Bubba too much when he wasn't pulling in the results too much because he hasn't really reached his potential. Now that he's getting closer to his potential, we're starting to see his actual pace.
You're right when it comes to... Joey had to go through a completely different team to get to where he is now. He had... he was one of those drivers that flamed out at JGR. Look at Ross Chastain. Had to get over to Trackhouse. Suarez went through 2 teams before he became a race winner. So there's just some drivers, it takes them a little bit to actually find that right situation where they can be successful, and Bubba's finally in it. Now, it didn't start off very well. We know they struggled with the last year. That was basically the learning year. We didn't think they were going to be that well. This year, they, as a team, admittedly struggled with getting the next-gen car to handle, but they found it now, and they've been extremely fast the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, they've been really quick, and I think they're going to continue to become faster. I think he gets that win at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this season. It could be this season. The way he's performing now, it could very well be this season. But
I hope he gets it this week because I'm going to be there this week.
That would be great if it happened to Richmond.
Yep.
But I think he's going to get that win soon. And I think he'll put all these doubters to rest.
And as we go into this, well, before we get to this week, Kevin Harvick, he was not on my radar to pick up the win this week, or this past week at Michigan. But you cannot count the Fords out, no matter how subpar they do. You cannot count these teams out in Michigan. And this week, it was Kevin Harvick who ends up picking up the win, locking himself into the playoffs. 15 of 16 spots taken up by race winners. This
is a statistic right there.
This just got interesting, Michael.
Yeah. It's if I was Ryan Blaney, I would be a little worried coming into these last 3 races.
Yeah, and as we go to the points and just looking at what the situation is right now, with how many different winners we've had because of this next-gen car, 4th place in points, Martin Truex Jr. would be out of the playoffs right now as things sit. Now, Ryan Blaney, if he were to stay in, he would end up being the 4 seed. But currently, remember, he doesn't have a win. And the sad part is, he is 2nd in points. We are looking at a situation where 2nd and 4th in points doesn't make the playoffs. That is how wild this season has been.
That's a crazy statistic right there.
And the tiebreaker is on points position. So there's a guarantee one of them is not going to make it. Now, Truex, what could happen is both of these drivers end up picking up a win, and that would bump Kurt Busch out of the playoffs because he's the lowest in points with a win. So this format, there's a lot of shaking up that's left to do in the last month of races before we start these playoffs. And a lot of people complain about this system and, Martin Truex Jr., he's not going to get a chance at a championship. First, it was the old system. He wouldn't be a chance for a championship anyway. And 2nd and 4th in points should have won by now. We are over halfway into the season. Truex should have had a win, and so should Ryan Blaney. At this point, you got to stop blaming the system, accept it for what it is, and look at what the drivers are doing on the track. And they haven't found victory lane. We knew there was always a chance this could happen, and with this new car, it has opened up chance for a lot of new winners, especially with the fact that DNFs are up by 50% over last year compared to, and that was from NBC Sports, that they're up about 50-55%. So there's a lot of drivers not finishing races that would be up front if they were, and it's put them, Truex and Blaney, in a situation where it's a danger zone, buddy. They better find a win the next couple of weeks or they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, it's danger zone, and they have to figure something out. Otherwise, they're going to get the boot. Yep. I think this point, I actually really like this playoff system. I think it shakes things up a lot.
I have always been a proponent when they changed it to this system, because now it makes the winning and the points matter with the stage points and everything. And people say, well, it makes the first 26 not matter. Oh no, these races matter. These first 26 really matter for Martin Truex Jr. and Ryan Blaney, because they've had 23 starts and they don't have a win. You don't think they're thinking about every race where they had a chance to pick up a victory and didn't get it? All these races matter now. I keep saying that. People don't want to listen, and I'm not going to argue with hard-headed folks. But all these races matter right now. And who it matters to the most is Kurt Busch, who we haven't seen in 4 races because of this concussion, and I don't think he's going to. I don't know if Kurt Busch comes back this year at this point. This is a serious situation. He got a concussion at Pocono. Ty Gibbs has driven every race since, and you sit here and you look at it, brain health is more important than racing. And if Kurt has to take the rest of the year to get right from this concussion, I honestly think he needs to take it, because this is not something to play with.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's just, sad to see, he gets the win, then backs it into the wall, and that's brought up a conversation of whether or not these cars are safe, but people are trying to say that the cars are not as safe because of this concussion incident, but
I would like to counter that argument by saying motorsports in general isn't safe.
Well, not only that, we've seen concussions issues with the old car as well.
Yeah.
Remember the Gen 4 car that everyone likes to talk about that they like? Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a couple of concussions in that car in 2002 in the same season. And those concussions led to him deciding to step away. So we know that concussions can happen in racing.
Yeah. I think to blame the car, I think it's going a bit too far. Like you said, these concussions have happened in the Gen 4 car?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think in general, like, racing isn't safe. So a concussion could definitely happen no matter what car you're driving.
Yep. But we do hope that we can get him back sooner rather than later. Sorry about that. But we do hope that we can get Kurt Busch back sooner rather than later, especially with this concussion. And we know that he doesn't have that many races left. And I don't think the last memory we want of Kurt Busch is him leaving the series because of a concussion.
Yeah. We'll like to see him off proper.
Yep. And we'll go into IndyCar quickly before we go to Nearest the Win to get out this evening. Scott Dixon just picked up another victory. He did so at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Michael, I don't know if you saw any of this race, but 2 straight races in Nashville, 2 straight races of chaos. I'm not sure about the future of this race at this point. It's more of a crash fest than an actual competition. People wonder, well, wait, you like the chaos from Abu Dhabi? Yeah, but this is a different type of chaos. This isn't a, OMG, this race is entertaining chaos. It's, oh my goodness, can we finally get this race over with type of chaos.
Let's not compare that to Abu Dhabi.
Or not Abu Dhabi. Sorry, I meant Azerbaijan.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was about to say Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi almost gave me a heart attack.
Yeah. Less said about that place, the better. But anyway, Scott Dixon picking up that win does 2 things. One, it gives him second all-time in wins. And second, it brings him within 6 of Will Power in the championship race in the 2022 NGT Data IndyCar Series Championship. And we've got 3 races left. On August 20th, they will be at Worldwide Technology Raceway for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. Then they'll go to the Grand Prix of Portland September 4th. And end the season September 11th at the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. Michael, I've always said it on this show, in IndyCar, Scott Dixon, if he is close to that championship, he is never out of it, and he's making another one of those late season charges.
Yeah, he's close. He definitely tries to go for it, and he's definitely going for it right now. definitely want to see him get more involved in this championship battle.
Do you think he gets it done? Do you think he's going to end up winning the championship?
He's going to give it 100%. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he can get it done, but he's definitely going to give it 110%.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're all going to be excited to see what he can do at the end of this season. And if he picks up this championship, it's just going to add yet another notch into his greatest of all time tool belt as he is hunting down that seventh championship mark. And we will see what Scott Dixon can do.
I didn't even know he had that many.
Let's try to get closer to it. I think he's coming up on number 6. Going to make sure that is right before we go to nearest the win. Scott Dixon has won. Yeah, Scott Dixon has won 6. He is closing in for 7th. If he wins this championship, that'll tie him with the most. So we will see what Scott Dixon can do in a couple of weeks. But it is time for nearest the win. And this week, we've just got NASCAR going to Richmond. This is a race that's going to be hard to call, because we know the issues with the short track package and being hard to pass. So the guy that we pick might end up back in traffic, and it's going to be a tough day for them. On the other side, there's going to be a lot of rooting, routing, and gouging on a slick Richmond Raceway surface as drivers try to get up there to make it into the playoffs one last time, or make it into the playoffs, which could make this a very exciting race. Michael, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Bubba Wallace.
Really?
Yeah, really. Now, if he manages to win that race, I'm gonna go down in IE sports history as the craziest pick in history.
If he wins this race, I am going to be celebrating down in Richmond there, getting to see him pick up that win, his second career win in front of me. That's going to be incredible. I hope it happens. Although for the game, I don't think it's going to happen, because I'm going to pick Chase Elliott to get win number 5 of the season and extend his advantage in the points heading into the playoffs. That is the only race we have this weekend. And if you want to play nearest the win, hashtag nearest the win with your picks. And before we go, we've got a little bit of time here. Michael, we've got the hypercar / GTPs testing some more in Italy. I know the Porsche show is over in Italy. This is an exciting class. Can't wait to see more of it. Oh, before we go on, but I do want to say, how are your feelings towards GTP heading into 2023? Because I'm still excited.
I'm still very much excited. I cannot wait for this new season of hypercars and GTP cars. I cannot wait for this. I think the racing is going to be good. I think the speeds are going to be great, and I think maybe the championship will be pretty fun to watch too. Who knows?
We will see how it goes. And before we go, I want to give you guys an update on the H1 Unlimited season. They just had back-to-back races in Tri-Cities and Seattle. Jimmy Shane in Miss Home Street picked up the win in Tri-Cities. Also won the showdown races on Saturday. On Sunday, Jimmy Shane wins at Seattle, on Saturday, Jimmy Shane, the U1, picks up the win in the showdown races. But in the race for the Seafair on Sunday, jumped the gun by 0.2 of a second. And the win goes to J. Michael Kelly in the U9 Lynx Healthcare. Big win for J. Michael there and Lynx Healthcare, which is based in Seattle. But the championship right now swinging heavily in the favor of the U1 as they head into their last race of the season in September. San Diego Bay Fair will end the H1 Unlimited season, and it really feels like that season doesn't go long enough. They get it, and we get in there, and by the time we're used to them around, they are here. And I want to apologize. I did not see these chats over here because, unfortunately, I was scrolled up. Chris did join us in the chat. Chris, good to hear you this evening. He is picking Chastain to run or to win the race in
Chastain
Richmond.
To win the race or Chastain to hit somebody?
I think he means winning the race. He's probably going to end up doing both.
Yeah, let's not lie.
Chris also said prayers for Kurt, but surprisingly enjoying seeing Ty Gibbs running well. And he thinks Blaney and Truex are going to miss the playoffs.
Wow.
I think they are.
I think it's definitely can happen.
Here's what I will say. If Blaney doesn't win by Daytona, he's not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Unless it's a repeat winner, which I doubt it's going to happen because it's Daytona, he's not making the playoffs at all. But that will do it. Chris, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. I cannot wait. I will be live in living color at the Richmond Raceway for this weekend's event. It'll also be Miriam's first race. I'll try to see if she wants to come on again and talk about her first time doing, or her first time in a NASCAR race there at the Federated Auto Parts 400. And folks, remember, follow us on the Patreon. $5 a month gets you a shout out on all 32 of our shows, and expanded tiers gives you access to the Podcasting University, gets you some iSports Radio gear, and of course, a chance to be on our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Also, make sure to follow all our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and TikTok. Make sure you get on the iSports Radio TikToks where we are going hard. We've got some new content coming up soon for the Extra Mile TikTok, where we're going to be discussing some race liveries. Ooh, keep it locked for that. And make sure you keep it locked to our Twitter pages. Michael's at Michael_Ward25. Chris is at Fiji Sims. And I am at DK Jr. 12. And yes, and Christopher just mentioned, starting this Sunday, we're going to get those livery brackets out. Make sure you get your votes in on which livery do you think looks the best in Formula One so that we can crown the inaugural iSports Radio Formula One livery champion. It's going to be fun. Cannot wait to see who's going to end up picking up that win, because we know who's going to pick up the win in the actual Formula One World Championship. So, and before we go, I want to recognize our Patreon. So let me just get that sheet up, read that out, and then we can get ready to say goodbye. And of course, we want to thank Bay Area Raised, MLO's Great, Key to the Gate, and one anonymous Patreon member. Thank you so much for making sure that this wonderful show keeps going. But we're going to throw the checkered flag for this edition of the Extra Mile. For Michael and Daryl, and for Michael and Chris in the chat, I'm Daryl. This has been the Extra Mile. Bayou Bulletin is coming up next, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.